Well, I don't know how much storage is in my phone. I'm going to try this blog again. Lessons in democracy. I mean, the biggest crime that nobody's talking about from the elites who want to continue the oil industries, whether they are directly linked to the profits or just get perks as politicians and worry about the transfer out of it in a way that, you know, should have been done a long time ago, but would be extreme now because the Anthropocene started, is the fact that so many countries that are rich in oil sell for profit, buy for profit, and offer it to their own citizens for profit. So, you know, it's a monopoly game that's gotten out of control. And so I would say, how do people stop this? Well, first they have to become aware. Like, for example, that Germany got such a good deal on oil not that long ago that they sold part of it for profit somewhere else. You know, like they got such a good deal from Russia, while Russia, like Canada, sells to its own citizens. And often the way they do the profits is not just by volume, it's by the refining of it, the quality of it. Often the citizens of these countries get like low quality fuel, like in Canada compared to Europe, let's say. So, I mean, how do you fight that? Well, I mean, people got to talk about this more. If they believe they belong to democratic countries, or they want to blame other countries that are supposedly not democratic, but it's the exact same thing happening in their supposed democratic countries like Canada. So I don't hear politicians saying this. So if here the price of fuel is like, let's say rounded out at 165, is if Canada keeps its own fuel, doesn't play in this monopoly game, bargaining, war games, political elites fighting each other at the cost of their own citizens' children dying from unhealthy lifestyles because of the concept of greed and profit, but also from war. And you know, there's no winning war. There's just the end of one preparing for the other, because there's no way to end war without deciding no more war. And that means first admitting there's no winners and losers. There's just a failed species that has to make a decision of whether they want to remain a failed species or not. I'm debating whether I should go ask that girl out, because I was asking about her, and somebody said, well, they can't answer private information, but I recommend you leave her a note saying you're interested. So, not sure. I said, well, hey, don't lead me down the wrong path if she's... But I don't know. I don't know if I'll be here another day. I did send a lot of particular emails of interest to say I'm interested in working in these industries, and I could be on my way to your territory that might not have housing, but I live in a modest motorhome. And sweet, the spring is coming. Some of the jobs you need to travel, but if they help find me housing, I could sell the motorhome if it's permanent housing. And also, if I do still live in my motorhome, maybe this is a motorcyclist who uses motorcycle for therapy because he can't find a good therapist to deal with my species alienation because you suffer from HSD and you won't admit to it. You'd prefer staying in war. And so guys, what can you do? Well, you can keep talking about it. You can do a lot of petitions where you say, hey, I don't want to belong to a country that's like this. Why doesn't democracy allow us to vote for oil staying in our country? And by the way, I've said this many times, the Anthropocene would benefit the biosphere, even the people primate communities and societies and countries, as you call. They would benefit from everybody becoming more self-sustaining. And the cost of things would go down, and people wouldn't have to work so much and start growing their own food, because you've not realized with your greed and monopoly game that food is still important, Mr. and Mrs. Elites. This is why you're in danger of your own citizens. It's mostly because of food. Soon it'll be drinking water. Soon it'll be adequate care and adequate consequences for people that pollute and make the citizens sick, you know, through your industries that you benefit from, but that aren't really required for a healthy human. Oh, he's spinning a lot. Right, he's got a trailer on a trailer, and most of the weight is not on his traction wheels, so this incline is like 1.5 degrees. So yeah, he'd better put chains. Anyways, I'm sure people enjoy talking about the latest truck accident, so maybe they'll just wait for it to happen. It's, you know, something to talk about, the gossip, whether there's casualties or not. Anyways, just burning fuel from stupidity. I don't know what he's carrying, if it's a grain truck. I hope it's not a liquid toxic stuff. And no, I don't think I'll go ask the girl out. Sad though, she's in her 40s. I found her very cute and friendly. Very outgoing, I found her. Just through a few short interactions. But the emails of interest are not in this area, so I mean, if I bump into her again, but I'm not gonna really try right now, and it's not because I'm shy. Anyways, so you guys, what you have to do is stop burning fuel that you don't need to burn. Like, you do a lot of errands where you're kind of going for one thing at a time. The engine's running because you're afraid it'll be a tiny bit colder when you come back in. You know, it's fine you don't have fur all over your bodies, but I mean, you do have access to clothes and it's right on you there. It's not going to kill you to be a tiny bit colder. So it's mostly like, just do it for necessities. You know, if you think your country is okay to send weapons to another country for war, then don't you think it's okay for you guys to just burn fuel for what is a basic need? And if your nations aren't saying, oh, at this point, we're trying to help another country because we think the whole world will be invaded by Russia, as if that is at all likely to happen if you really know the situation and why it occurred, then if it's true that Canada, for example, wants to belong to the oil and military complex industries, you know the threat to Canada is itself, because there's a lot of patterns about why nations take a downturn, and ours is we don't even want to look at ourselves objectively, like who we really are. Like, we're learning from what's happening on the international stage, but we're not learning about who we really are. We're not looking inside as much as we're looking outside. And that's our upcoming self-destruction. Plus, people we think will be our allies are already, we know, dishonest. So it's a stupid thing to do, to not realize they'll turn on us very soon. So stop with the wars. If we want to brag about our oil, let's use it here at affordable rates. Well, let's put restrictions, whether there's a war here or not, about how we use it, and tax the rich that have made money from this and cigarettes and everything else, and the new drug industries that are helped by the governments, and solve the social pandemic issues. Because COVID, as I've said from the beginning, you can look at my vlogs, was always a social pandemic. It's not a viral pandemic. Viral pandemics exist. And this particular origin has more likely to become a viral epidemic because of the way we dealt with it, not because it really was at the onset. So social pandemics is, nobody's talking about why there was a fear that a secondary flu type illness would overrun the broken down, elitist, greedy, incompetent, no more care and concern for their patients types of medical care, because we failed as a species. We failed the very concept of honoring each other's human rights. So stop consuming fuel that you do not need. Look up the word need and stop supporting wars everywhere else, even if you think it's good for your country.